She ticketed him, then flirted. She didn't know who she was messing with. Daniel Thompson never imagined a routine traffic stop would unravel into Denver's biggest civil rights scandal. At 34, Daniel was a successful aerospace engineer, MIT graduate, and CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech consultancy. But none of that mattered when Officer Jennifer Walsh pulled him over for speeding. After handing him a $300 ticket, she leaned into his window with a smirk. "If you weren't married," she said, "I'd give you my number. I've always had a thing for exotic men." Daniel was stunned. Her words burned like acid, not just for their arrogance, but for the casual racism laced with sexualization. She slid a business card into his car. "Call me," she added. "I love diversity." He said nothing, just took the card, started the engine, and drove off, calm on the surface but boiling underneath. What Jennifer didn't know was that Daniel had recorded the whole encounter with his dashcam and internal mic. The humiliation wasn't just personal, it was systemic. Daniel had built a life, a legacy. But to her, he was just another black man to collect like a souvenir. At home, Monica immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked softly. "Nothing I can't handle," Daniel replied, but she knew that tone. It meant her husband was planning something. For the next 3 days, Daniel didn't rest. He researched Officer Walsh, and what he found was sickening. Dozens of social media posts showing her with black men at parties, with captions like, "I love meeting different cultures and exotic vibes only." He found private group posts filled with racial fetishes, messages from black men describing nearly identical encounters during traffic stops, and screenshots of suggestive texts. Jennifer wasn't flirting, she was preying. Using her badge as a weapon, she fetishized and harassed men of color under the guise of authority. Then came a text. "Hi, exotic babe. Still thinking about me? That wedding ring doesn't have to be permanent." She had found his number through police records, a blatant abuse of power. That did it. Daniel called his brother Marcus, a renowned civil rights attorney in LA. "I need a favor," he said. Marcus flew to Denver with one mission: to dismantle Jennifer, legally, surgically, and publicly. As he spread out all the evidence across the kitchen table, Marcus immediately saw the bigger picture. Jennifer hadn't just broken the law, she had done it repeatedly, systematically, and with disturbing entitlement. This wasn't just sexual harassment, it was corruption. The plan began with what Marcus called Operation Honeypot. He created a fake Instagram profile using a hired model, posing as a charismatic black lawyer from LA. Jennifer fell for it fast. Over 48 hours, she sent lewd messages, bragged about past black partners, and even shared intimate photos without consent, a federal crime. She named other officers and even a local judge involved in her behavior, offering favors to men she pulled over. But fate had perfect timing. Jennifer was set to speak at a city-sponsored diversity event called Building Bridges in Our Community. She'd volunteered to represent the department on live TV. 3 weeks later, the Denver Municipal Theater was packed with over 300 attendees and more than 90,000 streaming online. Jennifer stood proudly at the podium. "I'm honored to speak today about building relationships with diverse communities." She paused as Daniel stood up from the 5th row and approached the audience mic. "Officer Walsh, can you explain this message?" Daniel asked. He connected his phone to the audio system. Jennifer's voice rang out. "I can make your life hard, sweetie. Cops have ways of finding people we're interested in." She turned pale. Marcus stood next. "Would you like more context?" The screen behind the officer came to life, displaying explicit messages, screenshots, racial comments, threats, and the names of her colleagues involved. Jennifer tried to leave. Chief Peterson stopped her. The FBI agents waiting at the back of the hall stood up. It was over. In one afternoon, Daniel and Marcus exposed the entire network of racial abuse and misconduct live for the world to see. 17 officers, 3 supervisors, a judge, indicted. Jennifer was fired, sued, convicted, and blacklisted from law enforcement. Daniel's protocol for documenting and exposing these abuses became national news. Universities invited him to teach his new framework, justice engineering. 6 months later, Daniel's company was booming. Nationwide contracts, government work, and a published methodology that empowered others to fight back systematically. Jennifer, once smug and untouchable, worked behind a department store counter, buried in lawsuits, a cautionary tale. When she called Daniel, crying, broke, begging for forgiveness, he simply said, "You spent years reducing men like me to objects. Now you're facing the consequences of your own choices." Monica, watching him, said, "You didn't get revenge. You built something no one can take away." And she was right. Jennifer thought he'd be flattered by fetishization. Instead, she awakened a man who doesn't just survive injustice, he engineers its downfall. So if you've ever been underestimated, remember this: real justice isn't just personal. It's strategic, constructed. And for Daniel Thompson, the best revenge wasn't rage, it was becoming untouchable.